What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Among the Fence. On today's album review, we're going to be talking about the album Bloodied, Unbowed by the metalcore band Oh Sleeper. Oh Sleeper started in around 2006. They're from Fort Worth, Texas, and this is their fourth studio album. So being around for about 14 years and having only 4 studio albums, they don't have a whole lot to their catalog, and they don't come out with music all that often. And it's been like 9 years since their last album. Shane Blay, who is their lead guitar player and their clean vocalist, did some kind of side project thing with the band members from As I Lay Dying, and then it made Oh Sleeper go on like a hiatus thing, and we just never knew if there was going to be any music coming out. But then in like 2006, they released the EP, which just had one song on it, Oxygen, and Bloodied Unbowed is kind of a continuation of that EP, I suppose. Going into this album, I didn't really know what to expect since there's such a huge gap between their last album and this one. And 9 years is a really long time, especially if they're not really playing together and one of the singers and lead guitar players is off doing his own thing. It's just can kind of become a mess, and who knows if all the band members are even like on the same page with the kind of music that they really want to make anymore, and it could just be kind of weird. And given all those worries and concerns and all that, it was just a waste of time because this album is just unbelievable. It's just a very heavy, energized album. Every single song just brings so much energy to it. It's very just straightforward, no nonsense. The riffs just cut through, the vocals are piercing. Everything about this album is just magnificent. And even just looking at the album cover on this thing, it basically portrays exactly what you're going to get on this album. The album's very dark, it's unnerving, it's unsettling, it's creepy at times, it can be uncomfortable, but it still is just so perfect in almost every single way. I will say that the riffs don't have a whole lot of variety in them, but they're just still so freaking great, and the tone on them is just so amazing. And even if you become tired of them from listening to them in just like one song, because the riffs can be kind of repetitive, as soon as you go into the next song, it still has the same tone, same style of riff, but it's just the energy it brings just keeps pushing you through. And the production on this thing is just so tight and clear. You can hear every single instrument extremely well, even the vocals. It's like everything's just dialed in perfectly even to where nothing is drowning anything else out, but at the same time it still sounds very raw, and it doesn't have a compressed feeling that you get sometimes when things get kind of manipulated in the mixing process. And the way how they structure their songs, it's kind of generic. It goes verse, chorus, bridge, just the typical song structure, but everything in each song is constantly changing in some way to where you can't really tell that it's the same unless if you're paying attention to it and you're looking for like, okay, does this sound the same? What instrument's doing the same thing over and over again? And it just sounds fresh. After a verse ends and it goes into a chorus, the verse that starts up again just sounds like it's almost a new song. Like on the song Decimated Burial, the guitarist plays this kind of creepy, almost doom metal style arpeggio, and it's the only thing in the song that doesn't change, and that's kind of what gives it its creepy feel. Is it's the only thing that you could really stay familiar to throughout the entire song. Throughout the whole song, the vocals are constantly doing something different. The song structures for the verses constantly change. The chorus is constantly changing. Lead guitar players constantly doing something different. Just the drums, the bass, everything. Everything's changing except for this one arpeggio that is just really unsettling to the ears. Speaking of the vocals, Michael Kennard, who does all of the distorted vocals on this album, is heavily underrated. It's absolutely amazing how talented this dude is. His vocal tone and his style is just so unique and honestly just really underrated. His low growls are just staggering. His high vocals are very maniacal at times, pretty impressive. And his vocals cut through the mix so well, it's almost like they're standing right out in front, and it can make you feel uncomfortable at times, just how in your face they could really be. And I'm not even talking about the whole album right now. I'm still just talking about the song Decimated Burial. All of this stuff is just crammed into one song, and it might sound like a lot, but it fits so well. And the first song on this album starts things off with this groovy riff, and then everything just turns dark as soon as the drums and the vocals literally come barging in. I'd be willing to say about 90% of the songs on this album are full of choruses that are kind of chanty and anthemy, but they do a great job at filling the room, and they're full of catchy hooks that just stay in your head for days. Like, I can't tell you how many times I went to bed with one of their choruses stuck in my head and woke up the next day with a completely different chorus from this album stuck in my head. It happens so many times. And the song Fissure, which probably has the most energy and is probably the most listened to song on this album, not just by me, but probably everybody who's listened to this thing, has just so much freaking energy in it. And then again, the choruses are really chanty, but then it has a bridge, which is kind of like this spoken word slam poetry. And again, Micah just freaking brings the passion, and the vocals are absolutely amazing, and you just brings you into his world, and it's absolutely amazing. And then right after the bridge, Shane comes in with his clean vocals in the chorus, and it just fits so well. Their dynamics that they have together between their vocals, it's a match made in heaven. I don't think it could get any better, to be honest. Even just talking about this song, I want to go and listen to it right now. And the song Two Ships, which is kind of their slow song, really creates this absolutely amazing atmospheric environment where you kind of feel like you're on a ship. And the vocals on it, it's mostly all clean for the first half, and then it gets pretty distorted in this last half. But they're just still so emotional. Even Shane's clean vocals are emotional. And then it mixes well with Mike's vocals. And again, Mike hits some freaking crazy deep growls, and it goes high again, and I have no idea how he does it. He's just unbelievably talented. I can easily go on talking about every single song on this album, about what makes them great and unique and all this, but the very last song on this album, The Summit, kind of caught me off guard, especially since I hadn't listened to it until I started this review. Because when I start listening to this album, I like every song so much, I usually end up listening to one or two of them at least 3 times. There's nothing but clean singing on this song. There's nothing but just a clean guitar strum pattern, and it's very, very different from the rest of the album in a very good way, because it just creates this perfect conclusion. And then after reading all the lyrics to this album, I kind of learned that this is almost a concept album. There's a complete theme to every single song from start to finish, and this is like a good conclusion to this album. And I didn't realize this until I got to the last song, The Summit, because like I said, it's the perfect conclusion, and you don't really understand how everything fits together until you get to that song. It's pretty interesting how they pieced it all together. It's kind of fun to go through it and find out that way. So it's pretty obvious that I love this album. Everything about it just fits perfectly for what I was looking for in this album. From what the band has done in the past to this album, it is just the perfect evolution. Even though it took like 8-9 years, I don't think it could have been better. There's no single thing in this album that stands out that like carries it all the way through. Everything in it is just great. The tone and the guitars are great. The riffs are great. Even if they can become repetitive, they're still very unique in their own. They don't sound like most other bands that you've heard. The vocals are amazing. The clean vocals, the song structures, everything is just, it just works. The only downfall I could see with this album is, even though I just said that I love Micah's vocals, they're definitely not for everyone. They can be harsh at times. Like I said, how it stands out in front of the mix, it could be kind of unsettling, make you uncomfortable. It could be a little bit too much. If you're not a fan of the guitar tone, which can be kind of, like I said, repetitive, and it can just be kind of tiring on the ears at times, just because the guitar tone doesn't really change until, like I said, the very last song, which sounds completely different. The guitar tone sounds relatively the same all the way through, and if you're not a fan, you're probably going to hate it right off the bat. And I've been listening to this album pretty much since the first week it came out, give or take. I don't think I started listening to it the first day, but definitely the first week it came out. I've been listening to it a lot. And a lot of these things that I say could be negatives about it, it happens to me very frequently, but I just can't get away from this album. I'll get tired of the vocals, or I'll get tired of the guitar tone, or I'll get tired of the drums, or I'll just be tired of that sound that they have. But then 2 or 3 days later, I find myself going right back to it again. This album has a very, very high just replayability to it. And given all those factors, I gotta rate this thing a 9.8. It is an A+ album. They did a great job. Even the things I dislike about the album, honestly, I barely even know that they're there. Everything about this thing is just so on point for me. I literally cannot get enough of it. Even after my review, I listened to the album all the way through. Listen to it again on my way home. Probably going to listen to it when I'm done with this review. Actually, I'm probably just going to go to bed. It's getting pretty late. But I will probably listen to it sometime tomorrow. I can't get enough of this thing. And if you haven't heard it yet, and if you're a fan of this style of music, I encourage you to give it a try. Even if you're not a fan of this style of music, just see what it sounds like. Maybe you'll like it. Or if you have heard this album before, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what you think. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell icon so you get notified whenever I do upload videos. And if you have a favorite album, or you're looking forward to an album that's coming out, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what it is, and I'll review that and I'll make it happen for you. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time.
I was trying to keep me lying on. My parents said to save me. Years gone by.